All right, let's get right into it. You know that beat that's probably blasting in your headphones right now? Well, it's way more than just a cool sound. It's actually the latest level in an epic game of invention that started, like, thousands of years ago with basically a hollow log and some animal skin. Crazy, right?
I mean, for real, have you ever actually stopped to think about that? Like, where did that first beat even come from? Well, stick around because we're about to find out. And trust me, the real story is way more awesome than you'd guess. We're going to trace it all the way from ancient signals to the digital samples in your favorite songs. And man, what a journey it is. We're going to hit the rewind button, big time. We'll start way, way back in the Stone Age with literally just hollowed out logs. Then we'll jump forward to see how ancient armies used drums, then to 1909 for an invention that changed absolutely everything, and finally bring it all the way back home to the digital beats you're listening to right now. So, let's do this.
All right, so first up, the one-person band challenge. Okay, try to imagine this. It's a little over 100 years ago. Bands are becoming a huge deal. But here's the problem. You need one person just for the big, booming bass drum, a whole other person for the snappy snare drum, and probably a third for the cymbals. That's a lot of people. It was pricey, it took up a ton of space, and it just wasn't practical. So the big challenge was, how do you get one person to play all of that at the same time? So let's break down the pieces, starting with the snare drum's origin story. Before the snare we know today, you had this little thing called the tabor. Think of it like drum version 1.0. Super simple, you could play it with just one hand. But the real genius move, the game-changing update, was when someone got the idea to stretch wires across the bottom. That's what gives the modern snare that classic, sharp snap sound we all know. Okay, so you've got the high-pitched snare. Now for the complete opposite end of the sound spectrum. You had this absolute beast, the double. This was basically the original bass drum, and it came from Turkish military bands. This thing was huge. It was loud, and it gave you that deep boom that you could literally feel in your chest. It was all about power, making sure the soldiers could hear those commands on the battlefield. So, here's the puzzle, right? You've got your snare drum, you've got your bass drum, but you only have two hands. What do you do? This is where the ultimate hardware update drops. For a while, drummers were trying these weird, clunky wooden pedals that barely worked. But then, in 1909, this guy named William F. Ludwig comes along and invents a reliable, spring-loaded pedal. And just like that, boom. You could use your foot for the bass drum, leaving your hands free for everything else. Achievement unlocked, the one-person percussion section was officially a thing.
Okay, so the hardware problem? Solved. But drums were never just about keeping a simple beat. I mean, they've been used for everything from sending secret messages to creating super complex emotional music. So now we get to the software, the rhythms themselves, and how that got a massive upgrade.
And this slide shows the difference perfectly. For hundreds of years, military drumming was kind of like sending a ping in a game. Just simple, straight-to-the-point signals: march, retreat, attack. But then jazz music exploded onto the scene, and drumming became more like a conversation, like a group chat. It was filled with these complex, offbeat rhythms, we call that syncopation, that just felt alive and created this incredible feeling of forward motion, this swing. But get this, way before any of that, master drummers in West Africa had already cracked the code on how to make drums literally talk. Using special instruments like the talking drum, they could actually copy the high and low tones and the rhythm of human speech. This meant they could send really complex messages from one village to another. I mean, think about it. This was the OG voice notes sent on sound waves. And that same tradition of African drumming gave us something else incredible: polyrhythm. Okay, what is that? It just means playing several completely different beats at the exact same time. The analogy here is perfect. Imagine you're texting your friend with one hand while you're beating a final boss in a video game with the other. And somehow you're doing both perfectly and it all just works. That's polyrhythm. And that one idea would go on to change basically all of modern music. So let's recap. We've upgraded the hardware with a pedal. We've upgraded the software with all these new rhythms. What's left to upgrade? Well, the materials themselves. For thousands and thousands of years, drums were pretty simple: wood and animal skin. But in the 20th century, technology came in and gave the drum another massive level up. Just think about how frustrating this must have been. Imagine you're a drummer back in the day. You play a show one night, and your drums sound perfect. Awesome. But the next day, it's humid or rainy, and suddenly they sound all floppy and weird because the animal skins absorb the moisture. It was a huge pain.
Then, synthetic drumheads were invented, and they were a total game changer. They were waterproof, super durable, and most importantly, they gave you a consistent, reliable sound night after night, no matter what the weather was doing. And 1957 was the magic year. That's when a company called Remo introduced the very first successful synthetic drumhead. It was made from this type of plastic called mylar. For drummers everywhere, this was like the ultimate patch that finally fixed the weather bug once and for all. Which brings us to the big choice for drummers today. And honestly, it's kind of like choosing your character in a video game. On one side, you've got acoustic drums. This is your classic character, all about raw power, natural sound, and that cool old-school vibe. On the other side, you've got electronic drums. This character's special abilities include being able to practice silently with headphones, having thousands of different sounds at your fingertips, and being perfect for recording. And hey, there's no wrong choice here. It just depends on your play style. All right, our final chapter, drums in the 21st century. So what does all this history actually mean for you right now? It's simple. Thanks to all these level ups in technology, learning and playing the drums is easier and more exciting than it has ever been. The beat has officially gone online. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that if you wanted to learn drums, your only real options were finding a teacher and buying a stack of books. But now, you can literally pull up an amazing tutorial on your phone in seconds. You can download apps that actually listen to you play and give you feedback. And you can learn these incredible rhythms from all over the world because there's now a standardized way to write down drum music that anyone can understand.
So when you boil it all down, here's the most important takeaway. Yeah, the technology has changed completely. The styles have evolved like crazy. But the core mission, the entire point of the drum, that has stayed exactly the same for thousands of years. Whether it's a hollowed-out log or a digital pad, it has always been about one simple thing: connecting people through rhythm. And that leaves us with one final question to think about. The drum has already made the huge jump from wood and animal skin to sensors and software. So what's the next level up? What do you think the next big upgrade for pretty much the oldest instrument in the world is going to be? Think about it.